Every week we've been taking kind of a look at different divisions. This week, it's an interesting one because it's, for me, it feels like, I don't want to say the have and the have nots, but really it kind of is, right? We got the AFC South. You've got at the top, right? You've got the Colts and the Titans. So the Colts now have made a move at quarterback, bringing in Carson Wentz. We think that's probably a good marriage there. What are your expectations for the Colts? Are they, obviously they're going to be, it's between them and the Titans, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong for that division, but how do you think Wentz is going to fit in there?
Absolutely, Anthony. I think the Colts are contenders. They have a very good defensive football team. They have a good young runner. They just took Carson Wentz from the Eagles, paired him with a coach that knows him extremely well. It feels like he can get the best out of him. You don't make that trade without feeling comfortable that you can help this young man get back to where he needs to be. At one time, he was going to be an MVP in the league. So I think that move kind of propelled them over the top if they can truly get him back. But they were, to me, a more athletic, a more mobile quarterback away from really contending for the Super Bowl. So I would not be surprised if they have a tremendous season.
Is Carson Wentz, or how much of, if you say yes, a big improvement from where Phillip Rivers was in his career last year?
I think he's a huge improvement. Not that Phillip couldn't play. I mean, every quarterback at some point in time starts the downward trend. And I thought Phillip played well. He gave them a chance to have a really good season. Could he propel them to where they needed to go? I didn't think so, because I didn't think he had the athletic ability anymore, which he was never a runner, but he could have some escapability to make some. They were missing that. And so I think they're going to find that in Carson. I think he's eager to go back out and prove that he's one of the better quarterbacks in the league. So I think timing's everything, and I think it's the right time.
Yeah. It's funny. I feel like we just had this conversation. If he can stay healthy, they're going to be in good shape. All right. So the other half, I guess, in that division is the Tennessee Titans. Obviously, Derrick Henry is just a wrecking ball. Someone asked the question, I think it was X amount of dollars, but you have to try and tackle him. I'm like, nah, I don't need the money that much. Ryan Tannehill has looked better since leaving Miami. Do they have enough? Have they done enough kind of to win that division next year? Or do you expect them to stay at the top of the division?
I hope they do. When I think of the Titans, I think of changes. I think of changes on offense. The coordinator is now the head coach at Atlanta. I think there's still a marriage that's got to happen that way. If I'm the new coordinator, I immediately turn the ball and hand the ball to Henry as often as I can, just to take that pressure off of me. But at the same time, they have A.J. Brown's receiver. They have some other young receivers. They're in their hunt for Julio Jones. And I think they need a player like Julio Jones to try to give him a chance to be one of the teams that people don't talk about that they really talk about. Defensively is where they've had their struggles. They haven't been the same team defensively. That's the head coach's forte. So I would suspect that that's going to change a little bit this year. But their issues were in the secondary. So did they do enough to shore up their corner situation? Do they have enough young talent in the secondary to handle these other teams in their division?
So to what we expect to be the bottom two teams in the division, and going in different directions, right? So the Jags obviously look like they are on the come up. They got their quarterback, we think. They made it interesting. I get it and I don't get it. The guy Travis out of Clemson, the running back, when James Robinson, I get it. He's undrafted. He had a good season. You don't necessarily want to put all your eggs in that basket, but I think drafting a running back that early when you have other needs was an odd choice. However, it looks like their offense, right? They're on the come up. Whereas the Texans, do we even know what's happening in Houston? Like, we still don't know about what's going on with Deshaun Watson. There's so many question marks. So let's start there so we can end maybe on a positive note. With the Texans, is it going to be will the chaos off the field translate to chaos on the field? Or would you be shocked if it kind of brought them together?
I would be shocked if it brought them together. I think the biggest piece in this is you're talking about one of the premier quarterbacks in the league may not play.
Mm.
I think that's the biggest deal for the Houston Texans, who is the face of their franchise, one of the premier players in the league, may not have an opportunity to step on the field for you. So I think that's more concerning than most things. I think you can work through some of the other issues, but I think that's the biggest issue they have. They have a new coaching staff, so there's new leadership. The front office is still what it is, so there's questions there as well. So what happens with Deshaun Watson? What happens? Is he on the team, off the team, not going to play, have a chance to play, career done? I hope that's not the case. I like the young man. Obviously, if the things that are alleged have happened, then I think that's something that has to be dealt with. But at the same time, where are they today? Tyrod Taylor is a quarterback. He's very serviceable. I think he's a good player, but he's not Deshaun. So
Right.
That's different.
It's impossible to answer this question maybe, but I'm going to ask it. The crazy, I guess, accident, we'll call it, that happened to Tyrod at the beginning of last season with the lung. Is that something that you've seen before? That injury, I mean, and is it something you can come back? Like, lungs tough, right? Like you need to breathe.
Never seen that before in my career. Never heard of it before, and I was in the league a long time. I'm very happy that Tyrod is able to come back. I think he can. I think he's handled it as well as any player probably would. And again, he's now poised to be the starting quarterback in Houston. So I'm excited to see how he does this year.
Okay, so the Jags. It's funny. They pick up Trevor Lawrence, and yet we don't really talk about them until they sign Tim Tebow. I know how I feel about Tim Tebow. But we'll save that for the end. Trevor Lawrence, is he day one starter in Jacksonville, and is he, helping that team get wins, or is this, hey, it's a learning year and we're going to take our lumps?
I think there's no question he's the day one starter. There's no one on the roster better than him. So you got to go play the best players. And so I think that's first and foremost. They don't have, a window to not playing, because the guy that they would be playing if they keep Minshew, that's who they would be playing. And obviously,
listen, if you listen to his cult following, he's the guy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think the organization feel that way, or they wouldn't have made the decision they made. I think the biggest question about Jacksonville is they got to decide who they're going to be. When you have your coach doing WWF commercials and hitting people with computers, and you got your assistant head coach doing footballs, and they're doing WWF in your office, that's a whole different world to me. And, like you said, I know we'll talk about the Tim Tebow situation, but I think they are a team that is better than people thought. I think they have talent. I think they've added to that talent. Can he do what he's done in college at the pro level? We're going to find out. He's made some questionable decisions and choices. I think we all know that, from the strength coach to, these things that have been occurring lately, to putting Tim Tebow on the team. So it's just going to be what that looks like. Now, I hope they start 8-0 so everybody be quiet, but if they lose a few games early, obviously everybody's going to start taking pot shots at them. So It's going to be interesting.
Do you think that stuff that they're doing off the field is, obviously it's done intentionally, right? They're trying to, look, let's be honest, they're trying to sell tickets. That's why they signed Tim Tebow. They're trying to get attention. They're trying to do something different.
They have attention, and
but
they hired Urban Meyer. That's the biggest attention you can get. But I don't need to bring, wrestlers, WWF wrestlers into my organization for what? I mean, they don't play football,
Some of them tried.
Yeah.
So, quite a few of them tried.
Yeah, they have. We're not going to get a following because of that. I don't know. I mean, it's what you do on the field in the National Football League. It's playing good football, exciting football, innovative football. That's going to give them a chance to be successful in Jacksonville.
All right, so let's go to the Tim Tebow thing. I'll cite with how I feel. So I think I know right? It was Urban Meyer. It's not. I want to make sure I get the saying right. It's sometimes not what you know, it's who you know. And let's just be honest, Tim Tebow's on this team because him and Urban Meyer are super tight. It's like his dad, if you will. Like, that's why he's on this team. He's been gone for years. He didn't pan out as a quarterback. I've said this multiple times, and I'll say it again. As a tight end, we don't know if he can run a route. We don't know if he can catch a ball. We don't know if he can block. And I guarantee you there's probably 100 other, college tight ends or undrafted tight ends or guys who are unsigned free agents at the tight end position who we know are better than him. Then, and I don't know, listen, I've seen this so many times that they said it was true and other times that they said it was not true, but I got to ask you this one because it makes me question. I'm going to wear 85 in honor of Aaron Hernandez. I get it. It was his teammate. I get it. It was his friend, but I think what happened after, right? It would be the equivalent of Josh Allen saying, I'm wearing 32 to honor O.J. Simpson, the greatest Buffalo Bill ever. It's puzzling to the general public. Right. So I think it's a bad move. It's a bad signing. I know why you did it, but then you make bad choices after that. What do you think?
Anthony K, I think you nailed it. My concern is privilege. Here is a player who was drafted in the first round as a quarterback, didn't make it in the National Football League, didn't play baseball, didn't make it at baseball, and that doesn't make him a failure by any stretch. I think he's been, obviously, guy's a Heisman Trophy winner. He's a NCAA champion. Got an opportunity in the National Football League that a lot of people don't get. Did some good things, and then the league caught up to him. Now has did some broadcasting and played baseball, and has a following. But that don't make him a great player, and that don't make him a tight end either. I mean, you said it. There's a whole bunch of guys who have put in the work, the years, the blood, the sweat, the tears, who can't get that opportunity that he got, who are better tight end prospects than he is. And I think that becomes a problem in your locker room because players know you're not going to fool them. They won't say anything because no one's going to lose their value saying something, speaking up against something that they know the head coach wants. But at the same time, the first chance they get to show that it is the wrong decision, it will be shown and it will be loud because people are going to make it really loud. And I just think your first year, that kind of distraction in your locker room that way, I don't think you need it, And they live right next door to each other. So what you see is what it is. You said it. I mean, they're best of friends. Well, we all can't hire friends. It's not how it works.
No, you thought he would have learned that from the trainer, right? Like it was a bad decision and it was oops. And here's another one that I guess he could get away with because listen, I think we confuse and people get on me because they confuse. I'm not saying he's a bad guy. Right. I think Tim Tebow might be one of the nicest, maybe greatest off the field guys there might ever be. He's a great guy. I'm also not taking away from his college career. He had a phenomenal college career. Some say one of the best ever. But then when I hear, well, all he does is win. Well, no, in the NFL, that's not all he did. Right. And he had 3 or 4 opportunities. Yes, he had a nice run in Denver, but let's be honest, there was a really good scheme created for him, and they had a phenomenal defense. Phenomenal. Like I think we're under-evaluating it, right? We're underappreciating how good that defense was. He didn't. It's not like he won a Super Bowl. They didn't go in defeat. And like I said, so okay, you didn't make it. So he's a great locker room guy. Well, I don't know how many tight ends lead your locker room. Right. And, when you say all he does is win, not in the NFL.
But why do we need a guy? I hate to say it this way, and you just said at that position to police the locker room. That's what your quarterback does. That's what the middle linebacker does. That's what the cornerstone players of your team does. You don't need somebody to come in from the outside who was with you in college to prove to a National Football League player, and Tim knows that as well as anybody,
right? Because it's almost like an honorary captain. Like it's not at this level. You don't need that, do you?
No. And I just, do you want somebody to carry the message? that's if you think you have no message carriers, yeah, but I don't think they need that. I mean, they have some well-established, good players in Jacksonville, and for them to do what they're doing, it was disappointing.
I kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier. The running back that they drafted out of Clemson, and I call him Travis because I know that I'll butcher his last name, Atini, but Travis. I'll just call him Travis from class. Do you think was I the only one that thought that's kind of odd, or do you think, listen, everybody has kind of committee backs now anyway, so it was a good pickup?
It's odd, but they better start playing at running back. I spent 3 months with the young man, as I helped train him at the House of Athletes, and he's very talented. And there's no question they had a player last year who played really well for him as a free agent, but he's not Travis.
Right, okay.
If Travis is who you say he is when you drafted him, you gotta let him play running back. That's where his value is. That's how he sees himself. Not that he can't go out and run routes and do those things, but you didn't draft him to play receiver. So why is he playing receiver? So I just and within the organization, if we're gonna put our chip on a guy, doing something to bring value to the organization that we've seen him do in college. That's what we're paying him for.
Right.
And we're saying, no, we want you to learn a whole different skill set. Well, if they're doing that to enhance his ability to be on the field at the same time they have Robinson on the field, great. If you're saying that this guy's a full-time wide receiver, as some of the reports have come out and said, that is absolutely not smart.
And that's the confusing part, because I see those reports, I hear that. And then just before we started, I went just to check on Jacksonville's, on their team site, and I look at their depth chart, and he's listed as their number one running back. So, okay, that makes more sense to me. I think it's interesting. Okay. So I've got Colts, Titans, Jags, Texans. In that order. Would you change anything there?
I wouldn't change one. I think that is well thought out. Tennessee is the only team that could truly, truly unseat the Colts, and the Colts can only destroy themselves, from within. So it's going to be interesting.